also means that that I am very much closely aware of what's happening in the classroom. Unlike in most other spaces where the administration is far away, distant, and alien sort of entity, we actually go and a lot of times sit inside the classroom just for intellectual curiosity, but also just to see like how how students fellows experience is. So that means like I'm also like working on some of the feedback that we're constantly receiving, and that makes a part of my role not just administrative but also like intellectual, in terms of seeing whether the TA or the faculty's pedagogy is inclusive, or whether there's something that we can sort of tweak or request them to do that might make learning more smoother and more accessible to everyone. I come from a higher education background. I was a student, like a literature graduate, and I have worked in different aspects or different uh, angles, all surrounding higher education. So that's something that I'm very much committed to. And I'm part of, again, a team of people who are also equally invested in and like very enthusiastic about education. And yeah.
Thank you, Nidhi. I think we'll take a bit of time and hear a bit from someone. Yeah, over to you, someone.
Thank you so much, Anuja. Hello, everyone. My name is Saman, and I work in the Learning and Engagement function at the Young India Fellowship. What that means is that the Learning and Engagement function is essentially formulated to sort of complement academic learning at the YIF, because we, as a team and as an institution, we do believe that whatever students are learning in the classroom should have some practical implications, and only then, to use a very cliched word, you will become change makers in that sense. So that is what I work on to sort of delineate some of the things that I do is working on the experiential learning module, which we'll talk about in a bit, the learning and engagement module, the LNE module, within which there are a couple of sub modules that we do. I'll touch upon that when I speak further about it. Not too much because Anuja has told us to stick to the beat, but I'll just speak briefly about it. And then there's mentorship, there are guest sessions, which sort of basically supplement whatever you are learning in the classroom. A bit about my background. I have done my undergraduate degree in English literature from LSR, Lady Shri Ram College. After that, I joined the Young India Fellowship. My batch was sort of remote, so I just had 4 months on campus, but it was a life-changing experience in the sense that it helped me realize my purpose in life. Yeah, and then I was working. I knew I wanted to work in higher education, but as a 22-year-old, I was unsure as to what I wanted to do. I joined the communications office at Ashoka because that was sort of something that I was good at. Realized that want to work on designing modules, working in a student-facing role. That is why I transitioned into the Young India Fellowship team 2 years ago. And yeah, that's all about me. Over to you, Anuja.
Thank you, Saman. To actually brings me to the one of the things which we have not started off with in now, that what is the Young India Fellowship? We say that it is a 1-year program in interdisciplinary studies, right? So at this point in time, if Nidhi and Saman, both of you have been working so closely with the curriculum of the program, and also Saman, you have been a fellow, from your perspective, what have you both felt that in today's times about the significance of an interdisciplinary or a multidisciplinary education to be? Whoever wants to take this question up first.
So I'll begin and then I'll pass on the buck to Saman. So like since you mentioned multidisciplinary and also interdisciplinary, I think one of the things that we also think about is the distinction between both of those, right? So like multidisciplinary, as the term suggests, involves multiple disciplines, right? which is why, like, if I can now segue into like how that happens in the Young India Fellowship, is that you're not technically specializing in a particular discipline, right? Like both Saman and I studied literature in college, which meant that we only studied literature in college. We may have had like one semester of another discipline. Like I studied psychology for like one semester, but I did not really get a chance to study like AI or law or sociology, right? And again, as I sort of grew older and went through life, I realized that there were so many things that I wanted to do, whether it was in academia or, just in terms of like civic aspiration, in terms of like being able to sort of do something around my neighborhood or around my city, or for that matter, trying to sort of build something afresh that required knowledge and ways of thinking and looking at a problem from multiple lenses. So for instance, if you want to build something, you should know like how to work with people. You should know how AI works. You should also know, what are the kind of people that you are sort of addressing yourself to, and so on and so forth. So that sort of covers the multidisciplinary aspect. The interdisciplinary aspect is actually quite interesting and also very unique to the fellowship, which is that interdisciplinary, as the term suggests, like there's an interaction between two different disciplines or multiple disciplines. So we've had courses where, one course that we had, which started last year with a former IS, Amarjeet Sinha, which talks about development, it talks about democracy, it looks at governance, how the state functions. Or we have had courses, we had a courses which has been running for like 2 years now or more by Professor Meghna Agarwala, who teaches at Ashoka University, which looks at biodiversity, conservation, sustainable development, right? So that, like, it's not just one single discipline or way of thinking that you're approaching. It's an interaction between multiple disciplines. So yeah, I think that's all from my.
I think very well stated, Nidhi. Someone, would you want to add something to it?
Yeah, I mean, Nidhi has covered it expansively, but just to add like a couple of quick points on the multidisciplinary and the interdisciplinary aspect of it. I think it's important for all of us to sort of move beyond our echo chamber, and that's where multidisciplinary education is important, where so we can move away from engaging with people who may have similar ideologies, similar political orientations. Yeah, so it's important to engage with those ideas with a very open mind, and that's what we aim to do at the YIF. We're exposing you to different disciplines, different ways of teaching, different ways of assessments and grading to make you intellectually agile. And you should be, not you should be, but we aim to make you comfortable with uncertainties and willing to question certainties in that sense. And yeah, I think moving beyond your differences to sort of come together and collaborate and co-create on ideas, because there are multiple aspects in the fellowship where you will have to come together, and hatred won't work in that sense. So yeah, just be peaceful and like work together. I think that's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, I think over there a lot of group dynamics also plays a role, right? And it somehow the curriculum will teach you, will expose you to be a part of that. Even if you like, I think most of us are of very different nature, right? Some of us can be extroverts, introverts, ambiverts, but all of us end up somehow, understand ourselves better over the period of time, and by being exposed to the different spaces and situations. Yeah, so I think that brings me to a point where maybe I could dig a little deeper into a part of the curriculum that we want to focus on. Someone, I'll continue with you. What is, if I have to explain it in simple terms, about the significance of the experiential learning module, and how has it also evolved over the years that you have been at the YIF? Because you have seen it as a fellow, you have experienced it as a fellow, and right now I think it's been a few years that you have been on the other side of the fence. How has it been for you? If you can, share both the perspectives.
Thank you, Anuja. So to simply put it, as the name suggests, the experiential learning module, you learn by doing, you learn by experiencing, and you develop solutions to problems that are interdisciplinary in nature, and you approach it with that lens where you are sort of aware that this problem needs multiple lenses for it to look at. So that's what we do in ELM. You basically solve real world problems through your disciplinary training while collaborating with others. ELM happens in teams of 4. Logistically, it has 6 credits, and it's a compulsory and core part of the YIF. In terms of the evolution, since like YIF in itself is a very feedback driven program, and every year, based on the feedback we receive from faculty, alumni, students, we keep changing things a little bit. A lot of those changes have been implemented this year, and one of the major changes that we have made is trying to focus a lot more on the interests of the students. So ELM till my year, of course, it was remote, it was online, so it was adapted to that lens where it was mostly like research work or, you know, researching about grassroots things, but not working there because the capacity to do that was not there. Um, Recently, we have focused more on fellows, engaging in fieldwork. And by fieldwork, I don't mean just grassroots work. Fieldwork means engaging with stakeholders, deepening your understanding of the problem, all of those things. So, our definition of fieldwork is also quite expansive. One of those changes is that like fieldwork is a very essential element now to the ELM, while initially it was more optional because of the nature of it. The second major change that has happened is, till last year, ELM used to start when the fellowship started. That is, like the processes of it started in August and your work started in September. This year, the first half we have dedicated to just preparation, your classroom learning, your sub-module courses, where you're learning about the skills that you're going to use in ELM. And ELM starts from January onwards. And yeah, so there is like a more focused period that you are working on it. Yeah, I think in terms of changes, that has been the evolution. And every year, based on the feedback that we receive, we try to change it up a little bit.
Wonderful. Do you generally want to touch upon any ELM which has been a very successful one, any top performing project?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Anuja. So just a caveat to that question, experiential learning in general, it's very, very difficult to grade or to measure because you can't say that, oh, like this experience was good or this experience was bad and you deserve an A grade or you deserve a B grade. So in those senses, we are very intentional with how we grade students, how we grade individual journeys, not to compare two projects to each other, but to see how your journey has been from where you started. Whether you developed a solution and that was implemented is secondary. The most important thing is if you were able to approach the problem in a way that was innovative, in a way that was collaborative. Were you able to engage with all the stakeholders? Things like that are of most importance to us. In terms of impactful projects, I mean, certainly there have been organizations that have been impactful, but one of the features of impactful projects in that sense is when fellows engage in fieldwork, because that's when they see the impact. Who are they working for? Who are the stakeholders? That's when it makes most sense to them. Another thing is like when they are able to sort of go past their differences and actually work together. Of course, when 4 people are coming together, there will be problems, there will be issues. that's human nature. You can't avoid that. But when you're able to sort of address that and move past that uncomfortable space, uncomfortable situation, and actually hear the other people out, a lot of good things do happen. In the past, I mean, just to name a couple of organizations that have consistently done well, and again, like it comes with that caveat. There is Center for Studies in Gender and Sexuality, which is like an internal Ashoka project itself, because the center is housed at Ashoka. And there have been varied kind of projects on trans asterisk experiences, on gender and sexuality laws, things like that. Over the years, they have developed. Another organization that has been with us for quite some time, and it's been a great project almost every year, is Kerala Development and Innovation Council, the KDISC. And we've worked with Pratham, we have worked with Quality Council of India. We've also worked with universities across University of Pennsylvania, the Delhi Skills and Innovation University. And yeah, that is just to name some organizations. But generally, more than the organizations, it's about the team and how you approach the problem.
Yes. And to also just add to that, I think when we are naming the organizations, by no means we want to share that, the other organizations have not been great and these are the only organizations which will be on repeat every year. Because I think the very ethos of the YIF program remains at the very heart of it, it lies that we evolve as a program, and every year we may not have the same organizations and same projects as well, right? Yeah. So, I'll move the gear a bit towards Nidhi. Nidhi, if you would like to share with us and walk us through the academic structure and what it aims to provide the fellows.
So, as Anuja and Saman have also hinted towards, is that the in the last 1 year, there has been major sort of restructuring of the program, while sort of the core and the DNA of the program has remained the same. What that means is that we still do have 4 pillars in the academic curriculum. One of the major one being academics. Then we also have critical inquiry and expression, which was earlier critical writing. We also have ELM, as someone has mentioned, and also LNE, which is learning and engagement. So I'll touch upon the academics, which forms like a major chunk, or like even like 2/3 of your of the fellowship. So that's divided into the core courses, or the courses that everybody takes in the fellowship. Then we also have electives, which are something that fellows opt for through a bidding system. Within the core courses, there's another subcategory of courses, which are the block taught courses, where you'll throughout the term you'll just be studying one course and you'll just be sort of immersed in that course. And we have 2 to 3 of those courses that run in the middle of the fellowship. CIE, as I mentioned, the critical inquiry and expression, which was earlier critical writing, involves like learning literacies or ways of expressing in different kinds of modes. So it's not just writing through which you're learning critical thinking. It's also like other formats such as visual format, or like auditory format, or other kinds of modes through which you are not just expressing yourself but also learning to think critically. ELM, I think someone has like covered quite extensively. LNE is also something I think I'll pass the buck to someone if she's.
Yeah, someone, would you want to quickly just go through the LNE module?
Yes, sorry, my internet was lagging a little bit. But yes, just to cover the LNE module in brief. So this was something that we introduced this year itself, and it was focused on, of course, ELM preparedness, as well as community building. This year, and of course, again, the LNE module might not remain the same when you all join the fellowship. hope to see all of you there. But it would be based on like your interest and the kind of things that you express in your application, because that is sort of the data point that we will have. But this year we focused on some core methodologies that included the research methodologies, design thinking and systems thinking, grassroots community services, and covering like caste and class sensitization, and how you engage with those debates. In terms of how it fits in with the curriculum, it's so you don't get a letter grade associated with these courses, because we don't think it's right to assign grades to courses which are so foundational, and you can't really grade people on these things. It's more like about building skills. So there's a pass and fail system that is instituted in this. So if you pass, you get 1 credit, and if you fail, you don't get that credit. So that's it in brief. But yes, it might change when you all come, based on your interests and based on what we anticipate that would be the complementary skills alongside the academic core courses that you're covering, as Nidhi was talking about.
Yeah. I think I do want to underline that point that someone mentioned at the end, towards the end, which is that LNE in a way also supplements the skills that you might need in ELM that someone said, but also complements academic courses. So for instance, while you're learning, or while this particular batch was learning research methodology, it also prepares them to then write a research paper for a core course that is going on at the same time, or might happen later on. Again, design thinking, of course, like very directly helps with ELM, and similarly, like leadership, call it like the sort of the module on leadership also then prepares you to sort of chart out your journey and be very aware of your own journey as you move in the fellowship.
Right. So, it brings me to the next part of the discussion, is that, Nidhi, if you could just mention some of the innovative pedagogies that one can expect in the many courses at the YIF.
Yeah. So the most conventional one is, of course, like the more monologue or the lecture-based format, which again, all of us are aware of. But there are also like professors who teach using case study. Quite a few of them, in fact, like use case studies to talk about real-world problems or about their own professional experience, and that becomes like the format through which learning happens. There are also seminar-style courses where students are expected to read in advance and then have a discussion. So it becomes more like a dialogue where like multiple perspectives sort of come into the picture, and that also becomes more of like a peer learning experience, which again is also something which is very common, where you're learning with your peers and by your peers as well, alongside, of course, the instructor and the TAs. There are also courses where you will be learning by creating. So, for instance, in an AI course or in the filmmaking course, you'll be creating an app or you'll be creating a film, and that then becomes an experience through like which you sort of learn. There are also courses where there's co-teaching that happens, where two faculty from a same domain or through like sort of similar domains will come together, teach a course. Then we also have, like simulations that happen where you'll be sort of simulating a specific situation through which you'll then be learning. Of course, another one of the major draws in the fellowship is also having like guest lectures that come in through certain faculties. So, for instance, we had Montek Singh Aluwalia, who came in last year. And similarly, like other big names that come in through in the course of the program that's taking place at that time.
While we, I think while we are coming towards the end of our discussion, I think we would just want to round up and try and understand how the what is the importance of feedback in the ecosystem of the YIF? I think someone has briefly already touched upon it, but if there is anything else that Nidhi or someone, both of you, would want to add to it.
Yeah. Again, like I think because I mean, I was not a fellow. So for me also to see that in the fellowship, feedback is taken very seriously. So it's not as if, like people will be complaining and they'll be talking, okay, this is not working for me. Okay, of course, it's not just like one person saying something is not working that will make us make changes, but we do very carefully read feedback and actually work on feedback. So in case there's a consistently, critical feedback towards, the course design, the course assessment, the workload, the faculty, the TA, that is something that is taken into consideration and actively worked on. There are different channels through which we get feedback. One, of course, is through the fellows themselves, which happens towards the end of each term. So there are 8 terms in the fellowship. So after each term, we will take feedback from fellows through like a mechanized sort of online format. And that is the end term feedback. There's also like a mid-term feedback that sometimes comes into picture if we're hearing a lot of reports about a certain course or certain, specific individual in the teaching team. There is also feedback that we receive from faculty. That's also institutional. That there's also again institutional feedback that we get from TAs. So it's a very sort of 360-degree information or data, so to speak, for the lack of a better word, that we receive. Other than that, of course, like as I mentioned, sometimes we do also sit in on classes because we're very curious. And that's also like becomes a source for us to sort of gain feedback from fellows through our personal experience as well. And we also keep on bumping into fellows. So that's like the final data point. Yeah.
Thanks, Nidhi. Anything else that someone you need to add? Okay, right.
Well,
I think we are doing very well on time. It is just 7:05. So we'll open the floor for questions. I think what we can do is you could raise your hands and we'll do a mix of you unmuting yourself and asking us questions and as well as catering to the questions in the chat. So maybe you could raise hands and ask us the questions you have in mind. And let's be mindful of time and space for each and everyone. So everyone gets to ask one question. Yeah. Meet Shah, if you would want to unmute and ask.
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Ma'am, my question is regarding Young India Fellowship. Is there any program going to happen in Pune regarding what is the Young India Fellowship or physical event is going to happen in Pune? I saw on Instagram.
As a residential program, it's a program which takes place which is a part of the Young Ashoka University. So it is a residential program at Ashoka, which is in Sonipat, Haryana. But if you mean that if any interactive session is happening,
Yes.
Program, yes, we had already done one coffee chat in Pune, and hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months we will do one more there.
Okay. So when did it happen in Pune? Like in which month? December?
We have not decided on the exact date and time yet. So just keep a tab on the email, WhatsApp, or our social media channels. You will be informed of the same.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Hemang.
Good evening. Well, my question is what I read about Young India Fellowship mostly and from the alumni as well. They mentioned it's largely a liberal arts kind of course, right? But as we know, today is the age of data prominence. So, is there any element of data? I hope you get my about data analysis and kinds of stuff in this particular program because just humanities is I think is just humanities is not sufficient for future. I think, yeah.
Nidhi, would you want to take that up?
Yeah. So we do as sort of I think I've also hinted at it, is that the curriculum is constantly evolving. So we do also have had and continue to have more courses on like the more harder sciences, right, which includes technology. So there is a course that has already been going on by a computer science professor, which looks at the like cybersecurity and those kinds of things. But there is also a course on AI that has been running for like a couple of years, and we are also actively trying to get more faculty members to like teach AI and other relevant um, uh, skills or software that is as that seem to be more relevant. Um, Apart from that, there are courses that do deal with the sciences as well. We do have a course on astrophysics, on quantitative skills, statistics, and those kinds of things. So the curriculum, yes, is a liberal arts curriculum, but that also includes STEM-based disciplines.
Yeah, thank you. I think next up is Sreyash.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. So adding on to not adding on, but sort of a different angle to the last question asked. I come from from an engineering background. So in terms of, number one, preparing for the fellowship, and two, in terms of being a part of the fellowship, how much of a drastic change or adaptation you think it would be for someone from an engineering background?
So right now there are around 1/3 in like fellows from an engineering background. So it's not like people from very different backgrounds to take like come into the fellowship, and that's also again like a big draw and like a big feature of the fellowship. There's no preparation as such that you need to do to do well or be able to understand things. In fact, like that's something that happens on the other end, where the faculty gets to know, okay, here are people who come with this kind of educational background. How do I tailor my course in a manner that is comprehensible, accessible, and also like engaging and enjoyable for the student? So there would be some kind of like that. That's a kind of understanding that the teaching team already works with in ensuring that, okay, if there's a course on psychology, for instance, they know that not everybody or like maybe no one in the class would have a psychology background. So they do sort of approach teaching with that mindset.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shreyash. Next up is Nitesh. And after Devanshi, we will refer to the questions in the chat.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, so I had, you can say, a specific question. Say, Nidhi was earlier talking about interdisciplinary approach. So I have a background in zoology, then I transitioned into psychology. I had interest in literature, but I, when I approached it, I wasn't able to in a way. So my question is, how will YIF expose me? Suppose if I have to approach literature in an open-minded way.
So, fun fact, I actually TA'd for a literature course this very year. But again, I can't say what sort of a course will be offered later in the year or in the coming years whenever you join the fellowship. But again, the idea is to not make you read like approach literature from a very pure disciplinary lens, in the sense that you wouldn't be forced to read like multiple texts. And yeah, like there would be different approaches to sort of engage you into like how to read a text and how to sort of critique a text. And yeah, so it wouldn't be like a single style approach where you're just reading something, but it would be like through films, through like creating like your own sort of creative output, or through like reading the screenplay, like reading the place text and those kinds of things. And depending on that, like there would be different approaches that would be taken up. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitesh. Over to Devanshi.
Hello. I wanted to know about the ELM project. So I know that there are two kinds. One is an external project, and one is something that the fellows can design themselves. So I was interested in the self-designed projects. Is what really does that entail? Is that more of a startup ecosystem, or do fellows usually take up more theoretical research-based projects? And can you give me some examples too? I would like to know.
Uh, Thank you so much, Devanshi, for your question. And I'm so glad that you've done your due diligence on researching about ELM. So coming to the self-designed project, what I will walk you through the process first and then get into the kind of projects that we've had so far. Essentially what happens is we have a supervising faculty for ELM. He takes care of external projects as well and gives more time and more guidance, more structured guidance on the SD project so that it can develop into like a sustainable solution in that sense. What happens is like either one fellow or like two fellows will propose an idea, will propose a project, and it will go through rigorous selection rounds, 3-4 rounds you will have to go through. You'll then form a team and then approach that problem like with all other problems. So like what happens in external projects is that organizations give problems. Here you're curating your own problem, curating your own solutions on how to approach it, right? In terms of the kind of projects that have been done so far, we have tried to steer a little bit away from individualized research-based projects, because what happens is that in research-based projects, it becomes, again, like the space for collaboration and fieldwork in those limited days is a little bit less. So the kind of problems that fellows pick up are more like solution oriented in nature, where there's a clear actionable. It could either be a platform, a website, a game, a digital solution, for example. So in the past, we have had projects working on, mentorship, building mentorship opportunities for marginalized learners. We've had like a climate change strategy game. We've had sustainable and ethically produced toys. We've also had projects. We've also, like this year, we have a project on like building a fashion assistant for visually impaired students, visually impaired people. And yeah, so it ranges from like a bunch of things to what is the problem that you want to address. But again, research projects we aim to steer a little bit away from, because a lot of it you're also doing in your courses, maybe not that extensively. And yeah, in case you want to take up a research project with an external faculty and can manage your time and not like compromise on your fellowship experience, you can go ahead and do that. There is no stopping you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshi, for the question. Someone that is okay. Rishika and Anubhav will get to you after addressing a few questions in the chat. So there is a question from Mansi, where she wants to understand and know about some of the examples of the areas of work that fellows take up as a part of the ELM projects.
Sure. Thank you for that question. So first of all, like no project will be very nichely rooted in a certain field of study or a certain discipline. In general, we have larger buckets. So there could be projects on academia and research, but another additional domain to that could be community and livelihoods. A project could be on social justice and protection, but an additional domain could be environment and sustainability. So like every project will have 2-3 overlapping domains, because again, we understand that fellows are coming from diverse disciplines, and a team that is formed will not have similar kinds of people intentionally. It will have different kinds of people. So the problem can be approached from like multiple lenses. But yeah, to like these are some of the domains. In addition to that, we have organizations working in culture and heritage, in media and communications, in AI and technology. So we try to cover a lot of expansive domains, so most of the interests of the fellows can be represented.
Thank you for that. There are a few questions. I see a lot of requests for coffee chats in different cities. I'm so glad. We just, like keep a tab on our social media post. We will keep you all updated on the upcoming cities where we will be conducting these interactive sessions. Okay, and then there is a question which I'll take up. What is the level of English language YIF program look for? So at the admission stage, I'm going to answer. We do not expect everyone to have an advanced understanding of the language, but I think someone who can generally converse and engage, that is something that we look at, so that you are being able to explain and express yourself in your application. That is the first stage. And once you are at the fellowship, so YIF is a very reading intensive program. So we expect you to read, learn, analyze, think critically. So those, and we are also there are, there is a critical writing, so there's a critical inquiry and expression component also in the program, which will also act as an aid. But at the very basic, I think, because it is a very reading intensive program, we would expect you to engage heavily with different forms of reading, right? So for that, the medium of instruction would be in English, and the level of understanding would be required. Okay, there are a few questions which are on the entrepreneurial aspect, just trying to understand probably how YIF can help you with this. So for example, just to put certain things in line, that Young India Fellowship is an interdisciplinary program, right, where you get to learn more than 18 different courses in a year. You can get exposed to other different components of the program as well, like ELM, like critical writing and expression, learning and engagement modules. But it is not, I wouldn't say that it can be a platform only for entrepreneurial ventures, but it can definitely help you in probably developing skills which could be beneficial in your entrepreneurial journey. There are many fellows who went on to become entrepreneurs graduating from the YIF. Some of them have been very successful in converting some of their ELM projects to a full-fledged entrepreneurial setup. So yeah, there are success stories like that, but it is not the only career trajectory that we focus towards. Okay, then there is a question from Rishika, I believe. Okay, this is a different Rishika. That, she comes from a legal background and particularly interested in exploring how law interacts with social structures and public policy. So she wants some clarity on whether the curriculum includes modules that engage explicitly with socio-legal themes and how these are integrated with the broader interdisciplinary design of the course. And also the electives like AI, astrophysics, etc. would we need prior subject specific knowledge to take those up. Also, the faculty for the upcoming cycle largely remain as listed on the website, or is it subject to change? I think I'll share a few questions with Nidhi to touch upon, but some of the things I'll just quickly touch upon, like whatever courses you get to look at the brochure and on the website. Some of the courses remains the same. Some of the courses have also been there since its inception, but we tend to bring in some changes as and when required. That is there. Apart from that, we do not expect you to have prior knowledge to take up the elective courses in astrophysics or AI. I think generally people are open to getting exposed to the different courses which are offered at the program. Nidhi, would you want to take the first question on the legal background front that she had asked?
Yeah. So we do incidentally have a course that looks at law and its intersection with human rights, technology, and the environment. But I do want to add that caveat that there will be other other disciplines, other components of the fellowship that you would have to sort of engage with just as eagerly as with the law one. So don't come with the intention that, okay, this is something I'm interested in, this is all that I would be very excited to do. You would have to be equally excited to learn astrophysics, work with a team in ELM, or study a module on leadership. So yeah, like basically, like it would be, you would have something to sort of bank on, and there would be something that might be sort of relevant and interesting for you, but that comes with like 10 other things that you would also be expected to be interested in and engage with, just with the same amount of curiosity and enthusiasm.
Thanks, Nidhi, for that. To that, I will shift to Rishika and Anubhav, who have raised their hands. Rishika, maybe you go first.
Thank you. Hi, I had a question about the electives. I was wondering, like, is it possible to like build concentration tracks on those electives? Because I assume like they would be very diverse. So if I like keep on like, I wanted to know like how does one select those electives? Like for folks who would be interested in like academia and like higher education, like is it possible to like build on a certain concentration based on those electives?
So to some extent, yes. In a way, like we're also trying to sort of make the fellowship more focused on certain domains, which are of, specifically like certain problems that are big problems in the world right now, which is like human development, environment, technology disruption. So there is a possibility in terms of like selecting and opting for electives that could, like be in public policy, for instance, or in the environment, for instance. So that does, there is a possibility of doing that in the second half. Of course, it's dependent on like you bidding for a particular elective and then sort of getting that. So it's a bit of a like a Russian roulette that you play, but yes, there is a possibility for you to then take up courses that align with your interest, but only in the second half of the fellowship. The first half is comprises of foundational courses that everyone, or the core courses that I mentioned, that everyone engages or like learns in.
But thank you so much.
Thank you, Rishika. Over to Anubhav.
Hi. So my question was actually around the question that Rishika asked, but it was more around like I've heard that there are like 8 terms. So how do I pick the elective? So what I've heard is if there are like 3 courses, so I have the bouquet of courses that is offered here. So if we have exploring the universe and science of emotion, science and technology, the 3 of them, and if I want to take 2 of these 3, I've heard that you can't actually do that, and then you just move. Uh, like 3 in 1 term, 3 in the other term. I can only pick 1 out of the 3 right now, 1 out of the 3 in the next term. So, is there any possibility of me taking more electives, uh, like than what is required?
Yeah. So there is a possibility, of course, like it depends on the term and how the courses are also organized. Within a certain term, for instance, if there are 4 courses that are being offered and you have to select one, of course, like you would be sort of just sitting in and like devoting yourself to that one particular elective that you've chosen. But if the schedule allows, you do have the option to like just shop courses. That means that you can just sort of sit in 1 or 2 classes, like sort of like Rancho from Three Idiots. You could also, if the schedule permits, audit courses, which means that you do attend the classes, but you do not get credit for it. But you fulfill all the requirements that the course demands. There is also one slightly rare possibility that the course could be open for, additional credit. So you take up that course and you also sort of do the whole 9 yard and then get a credit and a grade for it. So all of this, however, is contingent upon there not being like a very significant schedule clash between multiple electives, because like you can't be in 2 places at the same time. Yeah. So it depends largely on the schedule and also like how the electives are organized in a particular term.
Okay. If you allow, can I ask you another question? Or if you're short
Yeah.
on time, I'll just pass it on. Is that fine?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for example, if I bring into discussion like screen addiction through the lens of law, policy making, psychology, all of it. So can I actually just push for the subjects or in the ELM section of the course, or is that more driven by like what is commissioned by the teacher or the professor, the subjects or the themes that she decides?
I think we'll have to sort of clarify a little bit more. Yeah.
So I sort of like missed out when someone was speaking about the reframing of the ELM course, where students are not actually picking their own subjects or themes that they want to bring like research topics. I'm not sure if I heard right. But what if I do want to bring a subject or topic that I am interested in? Is it like more centrally planned? Is someone or whoever's taking the course he going to give us the themes or subjects that we are going to work at, or can we also bring our topics into the discussion there and also here to find like solutions and just bring in discussions?
Thank you for that question, Anubhav. So specifically for ELM, in the self-designed path, we don't sort of encourage if a project is solely focused on research. If there are other elements to it, and we see that there's scope for collaboration and fieldwork, and it falls into the kind of structure that we are building through SD, and that it's also beneficial not just for you or whoever is proposing the project, but to your team, to the peer community, to other teams who are pursuing self-designed projects, then that path is, of course, always open. In terms of bringing in your domain interests, so as I was like speaking earlier as well, an ELM now happens in the second half. So we have more time to sort of understand what are the kind of things that you're interested in, the kind of projects, kind of organizations that you're interested in. And then like we reach out to organizations, we do the sourcing bit of ELM when you all are on campus. So we do have those data points through either individual conversations or through the data that we collect from you. Another thing that we have also started doing from this year, we also give the space to fellows to nominate some organizations that they may want to come for ELM. Of course, like there are certain rules and regulations for that. I won't get into that, but that space for co-creation is always there. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. If there's anything else.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. I think we'll just take one more question, which is already there in the chat. I think this question is from Sarah. I hope I've pronounced your name right. Sarah is from Kenya. She's interested in submitting the application for this program. Basically wants to understand if this is a program which is conducive for international students and how easy it would be to adapt. Sarah has a background in business management and entrepreneurship. Nidhi or someone, whoever wants to take up.
Nidhi, do you want to?
Someone, I think you can take it forward. Yeah.
Anuja, could you just like rephrase that question? My internet was.
Sorry.
My internet was lagging a little bit. Could you just?
Okay. Yeah, whether the program is conducive for international students or not, and how easy it is for international students to adapt.
Right. Thank you for that question, and I think it's extremely important. We have had international students in the past. Even this year, we have students from Nigeria, Kenya, from New Zealand. Somebody from Norway has also applied this year. So that sort of range is, of course, there. In terms of like inclusion and belonging at the fellowship, through the fellowship, we are sort of building a community, right? And we do encourage fellows to be nice to each other. I mean, that's the outset. But there are, of course, like through the curricular epistemologies as well, we try to bring diverse people together so you can learn about each other and try to accept each other and respect each other. In addition to that, outside of the fellowship in the university as well, there are a lot of international students, and they have like certain clubs and societies. There's an office for international students as well. So in terms of like having that belonging, there are institutional structures in place. And if there are any issues, obviously you can reach out to the YF team.
Thank you, Saman, for that. I think we'll just take one more question. Simon had his hand raised earlier as well. Yeah, please, Simon, go ahead. Yeah, you can unmute yourself and go ahead, Simon. I think he's stuck. Niharika, would you want to? Hello. Okay, Niharika, if you would want to ask the question, please unmute yourself and ask it quickly. We'll wrap up.
Looks like we've left everyone speechless.
I want to ask this question. Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, you are now.
Am I audible? Okay, thank you. Also, I want to ask this question as a Bharatanatyam dancer. How does YIF curriculum proves beneficiary or assist artists who want to bring change in society through their arts? So this is my question.
Nidhi, do you want to take that up?
Yeah, I'm still also thinking. I mean, in terms of the curriculum, I'll start off with that, and then maybe like we can build on that a bit. But within the curriculum, there are courses that like deal with art in its visual format, that deal with art in like in terms of filmmaking. There is no course that I can think of that looks at movement, but again, like with like people coming in and out for other non-academic engagement. We sometimes have like alumni, we sometimes have guest lectures, we sometimes get guest faculty also to come in and talk about different their own sort of backgrounds, or their own or perhaps like talk about certain themes or topics that could then include art in its different format. There are, of course, like outside the fellowship as well, within the Ashoka ecosystem, there is like a like the Department of Performance Art. So you could potentially also sort of audit their courses, or maybe just sit in their courses, interact with faculty who are engaging with the like your mode of like creativity. Other than that, there is also a very big event in the fellowship, which is the Friends of Fire, which is like more like we would like to think a more sort of advanced version of like an annual event of kinds, where fellows put up a cultural performance. So that could be where like you could sort of rally other fellows and bring in your voice and your skills to the forefront. Yeah. Anything that I've missed, maybe someone or Anuja can fill in.
Thank you for that. I think we have also had a few students from different formats of art who went on to pursue their degree, like someone like an Abhilasha Sinha, someone like even Balaji has recently graduated. I'm not restricting the names only to dance, but there have been singers, writers, dancers who went on to pursue their career trajectories in those respective fields. Yeah. Thank you for all the questions and for being.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma. I'm Niharika. That time in. Can I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Niharika,
Ma'am, in
please
that
ask me.
time, network issue was there. Can I ask one question, please?
Yes, yes, yes. Please go
Ma'am,
ahead.
I am having a dynamic background because I'm interested to know. I'm pursuing my master in police administration, my specialization in corporate safety and security.
Mm-hmm.
If there any benefit of to join Young India Fellowship, I'm not clearly understand what I am doing and what the aspect of this. Can you please little bit clear?
Yeah, sure. Niharika, what I'll do is that I'm sharing with you an email ID. I'm sharing with everyone an email ID. You could write to us. We will also personally connect with you and help you understand more about the program and the pathways and the different career trajectories that stems out of the program. I think it requires a little bit of a longer conversation than just, devoting 2 minutes here. So we will catch up with you from mail. Okay, just write to us,
Okay,
take down
thank you,
the
ma'am.
ID that we have shared, and we will connect with you very soon. Okay. And this is the email ID, everyone, that you could write to if you're facing any problem while filling out the application form. And also, just to reiterate that the round one application admission round is still on, and the priority deadline, which was on the 8th of December, is over. Anyone who has applied by then and is attending the session will get their shortlist status by the 20th of December. Anyone who is applying after the priority deadline of round one, that is by the 19th of January, will also get their shortlist status in the, from the 2 to 3 weeks of them applying, right? That is the basic minimum, number of weeks that we could share. Yeah, so we will try and wrap up the interviews and everything post February, March. So yes, also all of these information are very much there on the Young India Fellowship admissions page. I would want to share that over here. Maybe, go through it, scroll down to the bottom so that you are aware of the deadline and everything. All the important deadline markers are given there. I've just shared the link here. And thank you so much for being a very engaging audience. And thank you, Saman and Nidhi, for your time and for sharing and making it a very insightful session for the fellows. Thank you for the aspiring fellows. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Noja. Nice talking to all of you.
Thank you.